Yaoundé 5.
Tu ne connais pas. Tape le pied là. Laisse au sol.
Ouais, c'est un problème de partage. Ça cuit. EDPC, oye. Il veut manger l'argent là seul. Donc pour lui, président. Oui, monsieur le maire. Ça cuit. EDPC, oye.
Oh, le mec, non. Il est déjà 5. Donc, il a fait le go.
Comme la main, c'est en base.
Ok. Moi, je filme en vrai. Acclamez-le. Ça cuit. Oh!
Voilà, ils ont terminé.
Good evening to you all, fellow Ambazonians. Good evening to you all, our beautiful, our courageous, and our resilient people. It's been 6 months when our people were massacred in Mamfe, in newly out at Beko. Our children, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, and our sisters. Some of those that were murdered are close to us. They are our neighbors. They are the parents that raised us. They are people we grew up with. This is a story, an event that will take a long time for us to heal. I would like to talk to all of you today to give you comprehensive information, a report of those that are behind it, those that sponsor it, those that carry out the attack. I know we are at war. We must understand the manipulation of CPDM elites. We must understand how intelligence work, how counter-intelligence work, and some of the counter-liberation strategies that are being adopted, that are being used, that are being acted upon by the regime and agents of the regime. On November 6, 2023, very early in the morning, proxy forces that are controlled, that were paid by CPDM elites, launch a massacre or carry out a massacre, an attack on Ambazonian people in the town of Mamfe, in a neighborhood where I grew up in, and that is in Newly Out Egbeko. About 26 people were killed, about 4 houses were burnt, young girls were raped in the process. Within a few hours, we got a report of what has happened and what was happening and what has happened. We sent out information to our intel team to immediately make an assessment on those that are responsible. By the end of that day, the Ambazonia Governing Council was briefed on those that are responsible for that massacre. The key actors that masterminded the massacre. On that day, we were informed of local forces that are operating in Manin, were used by CPDM elites. Those same forces are responsible for the killings of people in Kajifu, the burnings of homes in Kajifu, the killings of Ambazonians in Kekukesem, the killings of Ambazonia in Boka, the killings of Ambazonia in Beteme, the killings of Ambazonia in Kesham, the killings of Ambazonia in Bache, the killings of Ambazonia in Berere, the killings of Ambazonia in Eshobi, the burnings of homes in Eshobi, and the intertribal conflict in Berlin. These same forces were used by CPDM elites to burn those communities and kill 69 Ambazonians. Between February 2023 and November 2023, this group of forces that are used by the CPDM elites, the number we have, based on the number of persons that have been killed in the various villages, is 136. 136 Ambazonians, excluding those that were massacred in Mamfe, were killed between February and November. And if you add what happened in Mamfe, you're looking at about 160 something Ambazonians that have been killed in Manuelon. How did all this come about? All this came about because Cameroon is insisting those that have tasted power must rule, must be in control, and the Amazonian people will never gain freedom according to their gospel. They took over forces, loose Ambazonian forces that were being controlled by cartels. You know it, I know it. These forces have never been under any direct political leadership, but they were used by family members of CPDM elites for transactional purposes. The Cameroon bees, the Cameroon military, infiltrated these forces through these middlemen, took over these forces without their knowledge, without their awareness, without the understanding that they have been infiltrated, they are being controlled, they are being managed by the Cameroon bees. For the CPDM elites, their objective is to bring normalcy to the state of Manin. The goal of the Ayok Takuncho, the goal of the Tabetandos, the goal of the Mengots, the goal of those that have tasted power, accumulated money through CPDM, the ones to maintain their source of wealth and protect their entitlement. That's why they infiltrated these forces, took over these forces, and started directing their actions. The killings, whether it's in Kajifu, it's in Boka, it's in Kekukesem, it's in Berlin, it's in Bache, it's in Kesham, it's in Eshobi, it's in Berere, or it's in Mamfe Central, were all directed, orchestrated by the Cameroon bees using these proxy forces in Mamfe. The actions were organized, planned, led, guided by the Cameroon bees using these proxy forces. The name of the group that carried out the attack. I'm saying this, for us to solve the problem, we must identify the problem and be honest with ourselves. I'm not out to blame anybody. For us to solve the problem, we must identify the problem, and the Ambazonian people must understand the source of the problem and the cause of the problem, and those that are behind this problem. No Ambazonian defense group since 2016 or 2017 has carried out a massacre against the Ambazonian people that we know. Between 2017 right up until now, there is no Ambazonian group that has committed a massacre on the Ambazonian people that we know. What has happened in Mamfe and what is about to happen in many other places in Ambazonia, it's as a result of infiltration. When you have groups, you have forces, they have no command and control, they are not under any political leadership, they don't have a source of funding. What do you think will eventually happen to them? They become vulnerable to anyone who shows up to lend a hand. But first, the source of the problem is CPDM elite. The cause of the problem, CPDM elite. Vulnerability. How the forces become vulnerable? These forces have been manipulated not to belong to any, not to be under any political leadership, not to be any under supervisory leadership, not to have any chain of command, so that they can be exploited by these CPDM elites, by their agents, by their middlemen, in order to divide Ambazonians. Once you have a central authority, you have a leadership in which these forces are answerable to. They are under a political leadership that has a supervisory role. There will be guidelines, there will be a code of conduct, there will be accountability. Cameroon does not want these forces to come under a central political leadership where there can be accountability and a code of conduct, where forces can be sanctioned and be exposed. That's why they transfer the control of these forces to middlemen. At first, they started off with county by county. They took nationalist forces, ADF, SOCADEF, and the Tigers, and they turned them into tribal groups for purposes of transaction. That's where the division started. I'm giving you all this information so that at least you know the history and you can know where this problem started, so that we can find a solution for it. They started off county by county, divided Ambazonians into tribal lines. Then they subdivided these forces into different middlemen for purposes of financial transactions. After county by county, they transferred loyalty to those that they wanted them to use them for diplomacy, for financial transactions. They transfer loyalty to the SACOs. They changed them from county by county. They said they wanted to turn them into National Army. From National Army, they transacted them into ASC. From ASC, they transacted them into AMF. From AMF, they transacted them into ARF. Always changing loyalty for financial transactions, for the sole purpose so that these forces cannot unite. These forces should not be under any direct political leadership. So the various CPDM elites and SDF elites, the various occupational authorities, now deal directly with these middlemen, where money is the currency of exchange for loyalty, for control, to direct their actions, to influence them, and to dictate the terms of operation. Their goal is to make sure these forces do not align with any nationalist movement. That is the overall objective of the colonial state. Make sure they don't align with any nationalist movement, because it will change their conduct. It will be very difficult for CPDM elites, colonial elites, SDF elites, for the regime to divert the purpose for which they fight. For Dion Gute and members of the CPDM elites to show Mr. Biya that they are working, they have to prove that they can bring back normalcy. The Cameroon military cannot fight. They don't know how to fight this type of war. They've never been trained, because this has never happened in Cameroon. So they have no experience. They don't know the territory. They don't know the environment. It's very foreign to them. they have to rely on CPDM elites. They have to rely on CPDM elites. The bees, the army, the gendarmes that are coming from the Bulu land, they have to rely on CPDM elites. These CPDM elites rely on the middlemen. So there's a lot of money that is being circulated between CPDM elites, between the regime and the middlemen to these proxy forces. So what CPDM elites wanted to do, their primary goal is to turn the population against the liberation struggle. How do you do that? You use the bee, you infiltrate these forces, which they have control over, they have influence over. You divert their attention, you create artificial intertribal conflicts, you create a conflict between the Boki people and the people of Egbeko. A conflict that doesn't exist. You make it up. You frame stories. And then you set the two tribes against each other. Then you use these proxies to go to Boki and commit atrocities. And then they will be able to use a specific event and incident to justify. You use those same proxies to go to Egbeko, commit atrocities, and use what happened in Boki to justify. Then you use the liberation. You send these proxies from Mamfe, from Egbeko. You get all these proxies, move them from Imojok, bring them to Boki, send them to Boki land, and then ask the locals, pay 10 million. We don't have 10 million. Then you burn down villages and you kill 3 or 4 to set an example. That's the work of Cameroon bees. That's the work of Cameroon elites. Why are you doing it? Do it and say it's Amber that's doing it. Do it and say, we'll be Amber. We'll be Amber. When I not give money for liberation, now the thing that go, if I not give money for liberation, we'll go burn when I house them. And then you implant in the minds of the population an anti-Ambazonian sentiment. This is intelligence and manipulation for the purposes to turn the population against the liberation, against their freedom, against their dignity. Because CPDM elites have enjoyed power, enjoyed fame, they have enjoyed the pride of being an elite since 1961. That's why they will do whatever it takes, including massacring of Ambazonian children, killing mothers, burning homes, using proxies. I'm bringing this information to the Ambazonian people for the first time. You must understand the game. You must understand the thinking system of the enemy. You must understand how they operate. First, understand how they think, understand how they act, and understand how they operate. That's why I'm bringing this education, this information to all of you. Anyone who led the operation in Mamfe, it was led by this group of persons.
This is all community because of a very small man. Everybody suffering. Everybody will be suffering this underland. Underland. Look out, today we are very certain.
The Mamfe Massacre was led by Ako Giant at the time of Manin Unity Warriors. That's the mask name. It's a generic adoptive name to hide their identity. That is not the real name of the force. But they adopted a generic name to hide their true identity. It was masterminded, it was led by Ako Giant and someone called the Peacemaker. They have been responsible, being used by the CPDM elites over the last few years to make sure nationalist forces do not exist in Manin. They are also responsible in 2022, also responsible in the killing of General Animal Pikin and hacked off his head. General Ashu was also killed by them and hacked off his head. Last week, on November 6, Ayok Takuncho, the former mayor of Mamfe, who wants to become a minister, who wants Mr. Bia to appoint him a minister, as all of you heard, once they directed and influenced and paid these forces to kill our people so that they could turn the population against the liberation, they came out and accused me. As all of you knew, I immediately made an audio that evening. I made a video and I made an audio and exposed their plans, their intention, and why they killed our people. They went silent immediately. They immediately went silent. Last weekend, on November 6th, I warned the Ambazonian people. I warned the people of Buki. I warned the people of Egbeko. I warned the people of Mamfe. I told them that using these proxy forces to commit this massacre will be a tipping point. They have pushed the envelope too far that even the regime itself will no longer want to be part of it. Even the bees themselves will no longer want to be part of it. That they've gone too far than what the elites wanted. Killing 26 persons because someone wants to become a minister? You kill 26 in broad daylight because you want to bring a return to normalcy, because you want to turn the population not to support the resistance and the liberation struggle. I warn our people that these forces that have been used, they will be killed by the same regime. That was 6 months ago. The regime has a strategy. When they use you to achieve their political objectives, whether that political objective is to divide the Ambazonian people, whether that political objective is to turn the population against a specific bloc, whether that political objective is to show a sign of a return to normalcy, whatever that means to them. They will use you, they will infiltrate you, they will influence you, they will use you, they will dump you, and they will eliminate you. I warned the Amazonian people. I warned these forces. 3 days after the Mamfe Massacre, this group of forces came out and changed their name from Manu Unity Warriors to Manu Native Warriors. Instantly, overnight, their name has changed from Manu Unity Warriors to Manu Native Warriors. Overnight. I pay careful attention to how things are being manipulated for the purposes to create an impression to give a different interpretation, to create a disassociation. I warn our people. Cameroon, whoever you are, whether you are an Amazonian soldier or you are an activist, whether you are an Amazonian political leader or an Amazonian citizen, and you are being recruited as a spy, as an informant, you are being recruited and framed as an Amazonian soldier to go kill other Amazonian soldiers. La République du Cameroon will use you, and then once they use you to achieve their objectives, they will dump you, they will eliminate you, and they will discard you. I said this 6 months ago. Last week, it's right here. Some of those proxy forces that have been taken over by CPDM elites, that have been responsible in the havocs in Manin, in the killings of our people. It's almost 160 something Amazonians just within a year. As I warned 6 months ago, last week, the Cameroon military, CPDM elite in Manin, they feel they have achieved their political objectives to turn the population against the liberation struggle. They have discarded those that they have used. They've handed them back to the military. The same military that has been controlling them, that has been with them, that monitors and directs these actions against the population. Once they finish using you, they will eliminate you. It happened to Ayeke. You all remember Ayeke? It happened to General Ayeke. Ayeke was a fine soldier, a bee, that was extracted to join the fight against Cameroon. They handed him to middlemen so that there should be no unity with nationalist forces. And then they transacted him to other middlemen. Ayeke was infiltrated by the bees. The bees directed the actions of Ayeke in burning down communities, kidnapping 60-something Ambazonian students. Once they have used him and the bees felt like they have achieved their political objective, what happened to Ayeke? They took out Ayeke, and the other bees that have been part of Ayeke returned to the barracks. What happened to the Red Dragons? Same story. The same story. Same story. There's a video out there where Field Marshal told the Ambazonian people that they were being funded by the minister from the BLM. Yes, the video is out there. I don't make this story up. He said they were being funded by Mr. Paul Tassel. The video is out there for all of you. You've all watched it. You've all seen it. Where is the Red Dragon today? Even before the killing of Oliver, what became of the Red Dragons? It is not Chris Anu that is losing. It's the Ambazonian people. Because for them, the liberation is a platform for transactions. It's not a platform to liberate the people of Libya. So they will sacrifice even their own relatives. That's why I'm bringing this information to all of you. What has happened in Manin, it's a lesson for all Ambazonians to learn. I'm not celebrating because these forces have been arrested. It pains me. It hurt me. The fall of Manin to colonial elites is not good for Ambazonia. It's not good for the resistance. When these images are coming out, but we predicted them because we know how these things always end up. We have studied these patterns for 7 years. And if you're a student of patterns, like someone like me, then I'm very detailed in this science, you become too curious. You develop a high sense of interest to get deeper understanding of how the enemy works, how manipulation works, how intelligence works. How do they do counterintelligence? What are their strategies to turn the population against the liberation? And who are they using? Why is it working? That's why I'm bringing this information to you. Look at how many soldiers we lost that day. Part of my family, we have all been victims. Our homes have been burnt. Relatives' homes have been burnt. Some shot. Some have lost their limbs through this recklessness. One of my cousins was ambushed. Transporting cocoa from Eshobi to Mamfe was ambushed. truck full of cocoa was seized. He was taken into the forest, was shot in the leg. His driver was killed, and 5 million was paid. Because of manipulation. Because forces are being manipulated. We must understand the work of the enemy. They have to make sure the goal of the enemy is to paint the liberation black. The goal of the enemy is to make the average Ambazonian to feel that those who supposed to protect and defend them, those who rose up to protect and defend them, are the same people killing and attacking them. That is the narrative of the occupier. That is the narrative of the agents of the occupier. That is the narrative of the assembly of Confucianists. That is the impression they want to give. It's a perception created. It's a perception engineered, created and propagated by the regime, by enemies of the regime, by the agents of the regime, agents of CPDM. Once you understand the game, you must be a student. Number one, be a student of life. Master these things so that you will be in a position to be well informed, to educate and empower the population so that our people don't fall back into the hands of the colonial master, of the slave master, of the occupier, of the extortionist, of the arsonist, of the rapist, of the Bulu terrorist. It's a manipulative game. They understand our people are still at a survival stage. So cognitive reasoning is missing. They know that the objective mind has not been developed. They know it. They know it. So they use the tactics of fear, which is a survival strategy, as a means to manipulate the nervous system of our people, because they live in a fragile state of being, of existence. The colonial state knows. You must guard against it. These are very powerful psychological weapons. And those that do not understand it, those that do not understand the game, they fall for it. This is the essence of leadership. This is why we have insisted for forces to adopt a nationalist policy and ideology. Forces must understand the reason for which they fight. Forces must understand the enemy they are fighting and the complexity of that enemy. If you don't have a political structured nationalist movement to give the forces this type of ideological education and foundation, forces will continuously be manipulated, will be used, continuously be infiltrated, manipulated, used, dumped, and discarded. It's happening in other blocks, but I will talk about that in other outings. For now, let's focus on Manin. what has happened to in Mamfe to our people. Fellow Amazonians, on the 6th of November, a massacre took place. It took place for Mamfe, for newly out. The quarter where me I grow up for the people the way they kill them. Now mommy the way they raise me. Now brothers who I grow up with them. Ejagan people, Kenyan people, Anyang people, Boki people. They raised me for a quarter. Boki people, they married for Egbeko. Egbeko people married for Boki. Anyang people married for Kenyan. Kenyan people married for Anyang. While people don't intermarriage for so long, we don't always live in peace. Mamfe is the place where all the tribes of Manin, they can mix for being Mamfe. The people, the way they influence the development of Mamfe, the Boki people then. Pamo Sisliku become the first, most successful businessman for Mamfe. It teach all we how a person will not even go school. If he becomes successful, it build with the first story building for Mamfe. Give with the first big business them and store them for Mamfe. It build with the first big canoe them and trailers where they go buy rice for La Republique. 10 trailers for Karam go for Nigeria, go sell them. It show we how you fit create big business through cocoa, through Guinness, through rice. You get the generation of Pawanobi from Bodam. Pamos is come out for Bonandu, a very small village. How you feel come out for that kind of village, you become such an influential person. And you help to build that town. Then you get the Commissioner Mangedem. You get the generation of the Agbojan, the Obijan, the Ben Mangets. And then you get the Manget family. Pam Manget can build the Manget family. So the Boki people don't play a crucial role for the development of that town. The Kenyan people, all we who build that town. While people don't rise up for fight against Cameroon injustice, the occupation, the annexation, and the colonization of our people. The people who don't taste power, the CPDM elites, where they don't taste power since 1961. They no one lost that power. When these brave boys and girls, they rise up to pick up arms for fight against the occupation, for fight against Cameroon annexation, for fight against the colonization. La République is first goal. Now for make sure say these forces, they know they're under a nationalist political leadership. Because it means Ambazonia will gain independence. They want time, Cameroon will go. Now for make sure say these forces then they remain divided. The forces for Mamfe, the forces that they did for Akwaya, the one that they did for Mamfe Central, the one that they did for Imojok, the one that they did for Upper Bayan, all them they go be under different small group of people them where they call as a middleman. None of these forces, they go belong to one political movement where you go give them the nationalist education, you give them the liberation ideology, you give them a code of conduct, you hold them accountable, you be able to fund them and supply them consistently so that they continuously work now for the ideology for the liberation. The Amazonian liberation struggle, it get a code of conduct. When forces are there under a political leadership, you feel hold them accountable. Like for the ADF. If any ADF soldier, it do something where it be out of the code of conduct, that ADF soldier, they go arrest him. That's the first thing that. They go arrest him. They go disarm him. They put you under investigation. For check, once they realize and say, wait till you do one, it not be authorized by the commander, it not be authorized by the chain of command, it be out of the witty the ADF be about, that soldier will go through disciplinary actions. And if it pass anything big, with the international community not like him, the international community go hold the governing council responsible. Because now the governing council it control the ADF. Now I ask you now, since 2017 or 2018, 2019, all these loose forces from Manin, many people, they don't come off outside, including Christmas Ebini, they don't come off outside talking that they are forces. Now then they control them. They don't raise money for them. Now, when you don't get more than 8 to 8 massacres, where they don't happen, from Berlin to Kesham to Bache to Eshobi to Berere to Kekugesem to Boka to Kajifu to Mamfe Central. And for videos, these forces, they don't come off outside like what happened for Berlin. They jab their hand for up. They talk saying that then they do one. Like the one way it happened for Bache. They talk saying that they do one. They make videos. How many of these people then, they don't ever come off outside? They talk say they can't take ownership for the things and where they happen, where they go wrong. How many of them? Even when these forces, they don't make video, they talk say, now this person, they control me. Within and under this person, they call their name. Now how many of those people then, they don't come off outside, they can't take responsibilities for these forces, their action? Nobody. They like to use these forces them for do political transaction. They like to use these forces them for do financial transaction. They like to use these forces them for project, say then too they get something for doing with the liberation struggle. But when these forces, they commit anti-liberation, they carry out anti-liberation actions, all of these people them, they run away. You need to hear from them. From all the massacres where they don't happen for Manin, will be orchestrated by CPDM elites through middlemen using these proxy forces. You no go ever see any of these people them for outside. But when you want to talk, like when the Amazonian Governing Council, in consultation with other nationalist forces on the ground, it called for the lockdown, for the closure of the Trans-African Highway. I get a message from someone where they claim, he don't always claim, say now they control those forces. When they do lockdown, when I need to consult other people, now we control those forces for Manin. You know, say now we control those forces for Manin. Why would I not consult we? Why would I not consult we? I just ask a simple question. Oh, I say, oh, I don't be no say. Now you talk, say now you control them. But I never hear you when things they go wrong for Manin. I don't hear you the day where 26 of our picking them, mommy, papa, big papa and big mommy them, they be massacred in Mamfe. I don't hear you. Who say you be there that day? Who said be there that day? Who said the Ebinis they be there that day? Because they don't come out publicly, they raise money for those forces. Who said they be there that day? They only know them now for use them for financial transactions. And they plead with the Ambazonian people then. What it don't happen for Manin, including the capturing of these fighters then. Not been a good thing for Ambazonia. If these forces they be there under a nationalist political leadership, they forget training, they forget consistent supplies, they forget a guidance, they forget accountability and oversight. The Cameroon government, no one made these forces. The Cameroon government and the CPDM elites, no one made these forces, they come under any direct political leadership because it maintains an independence. The reason why they leave them for the hands of agents of CPDM elites so that it shows a sense of division, it shows a perception of division, it shows a perception of, say, these fighters will not be under any direct command and control. So all we must understand the game of the enemy. We must understand the game of the enemy. Ambazonia they rise up for fight against Cameroon. But Cameroon no one make or gain independence. The CPDM elites, they no one lose power. That's why they engineered this artificial division. And this division, it need to help the people of Manu. It need to help the people of Mamfe. It need to help the people of Akwaya. It need to help the people of Eimojo. It need to help the people of Upper Banyang. It need to help. Look at Manu today. Now the state where it don't go back for the hand of the occupier more than any other state from Ambazonia. The colonial elites, they don't use this manipulative strategy for use proxy forces in the hands of middlemen for commit these massacres on our people in order for turn the population against the people their own freedom. So all we need to understand the game. We need to understand the objectives, we need to understand the manipulation, and we need to understand how these things that work. Where people want to be free. There is no Ambazonian today who will not be free. But until our people they understand the work of the enemy, the work of the regime, and how counter-intelligence they work, how they create counter-liberation ideology for turn the population against even the population their own aspirations, for manipulate the population. That's why they bring this education. What don't happen with the forces where they don't capture them, they're paying for all Ambazonia. But I be warned the Ambazonian people 6 months ago when the massacre happened on the 6th of November. They will use forces, they will infiltrate forces, they use forces for do this kind of thing, and after they don't achieve what they want them, they go kill these forces, they go arrest them, or they go discard them. I be warned now. More and more and more go to happen for all forces where they think where they don't use them, say they be independent forces. More and more go happen. That's how infiltration work. But you must understand these things so that you feel educate the population. That the Cameroon bees, that they be responsible for these acts. That they only use those forces for doing, for cover up the bees then, so that they will use the name of these forces for spoil the liberation struggle. All what did happen for those communities where they're not under, where their forces, where forces they're not under a nationalist movement, not the same thing. That's why they bring on this education. Not enough to make some person may be a victim of anything. Our goal is say the more all we get the education and the understanding, the more all we will secure the integrity of this liberation struggle I will not leave them. La République du Cameroon, their propaganda is sink into the minds of our people. Because these elites, after they don't use these forces for do these things, they will come project themselves, say they don't win. And then they will come now make the population embrace them back as the people who don't help the population from who? From the people where they commit these crimes. Now they game this. That's why I talk to make I take the time for kind of educate our people. We call on all Ambazonian forces before it be too late. Make you not be the next one. You rise up and defend the land. You rise up because you want to be free. You rise up because you be full of anger. Of which Cameroon don't do them for you, and they don't do them for your community, and they don't do them for our country. But we must be honest with ourselves to understand the place where these problems that they come out, who they the creator, so that we as Ambazonians will take responsibility for fix them. Now only we fix them. Now only we fix them. It'll be very simple. If you rise up to fight for the liberation of Ambazonia, you must embrace a nationalist ideology where it get a command, it get a code of conduct. And if it come for us, I just can't talk anyhow. Because I be under a political leadership, we regulate my conduct, my public conduct. I be under a political leadership where it makes sure say everything what they talk, it must be consistent with the aspirations, the goals, the hopes of the Ambazonian people. Now the same thing with the Ambazonian Defense Forces. The actions of Ambazonian Defense Forces must be consistent with the aspirations of the Ambazonian people. Must be consistent with the aspirations for independence and for the freedom of Ambazonia. We call on all Ambazonian forces for rally around the nationalist leadership. We call on all Ambazonian forces for adopt a nationalist approach to the liberation. Because it go help way will help these forces them for avoid this infiltration, for avoid this manipulation, and for avoid this used and dumb strategy. All right? For now, tomorrow we'll make 1 year. We were people they be massacred for Mamfe. Tomorrow we'll make 6 months. We were people they be massacred for Mamfe. We don't know how some of these families will ever fit for overcome the trauma where they experience them. We ask our people, we now continue for pray for the people the way they be victim for that massacre. We now continue for support and give help to the families where they still be homeless, the one where they need care, the one where they need support. La République du Cameroon the goal. Now for drive people them from all the villages around Mamfe and within Mamfe, so that because they know say if the population continue for be for those villages, then it will be easy for Ambazonian fighters for rally themselves and for can attack the colonial, military, gendarme, bees, and authorities from Mamfe. That's why they use intelligence, counter-liberation ideologies for commit atrocities within villages, so that you drive the villagers from their village. You push them into town. You make the village, make the villages be very empty. In that way, people and forces, they know if you mobilize themselves. They know if you mobilize themselves, and they know if you be within the population, and therefore mobilize themselves for can fight the regime. Now the main objective of the regime. I will do an audio for try for summarize these things for a 3 to 4 minute audio and send them for outside. All right. So we call on the Kajifo people then, as the military don't reach their tipping point, the attack on the population by the infiltrated military, it will reduce. We call on our people them for go back for their villages. We call on the Boki people them, the Anyang people them, the Kenyan people them, the Ejagan people them. We now go back for our villages. Because we now suffer for time. We now go back for start to make farms. The regime, it don't chew more than if it chop. We now go back on our villages. We now will be a wealthy people. Now famine season this. We now go back to villages. We now know say we go continuously for do our best. For make sure say such things do not happen, and for gather intelligence, even if they won't happen, we go inform una in advance. The Ambazonia Governing Council, they work very hard. I not go talk much about this. I go leave and make the SG of the ADF when he talk for una. When he talk for una, he tell una what the Ambazonia Governing Council the plan. But for now, I not fit talk much on it. We call on all Ambazonians. We don't come very far as a people. Not leave and make any person we don't take bribe for La Republic to come around and manipulate you. For all fighters, not leave and make any person he influence you for go fight other fighters. Tomorrow I go to talk for una on the intelligence where we don't get them about what this assembly of Confucianist Cambazonian activists. The plan where the meeting will not take place for Yaoundé, and the plan and the intelligence where they don't put us outside for how they want go cause chaos for destabilize Momo in particular. And we talk on and bring on that intelligence tomorrow. The population must understand, the forces they must understand. La Republic be very desperate. Mr. Bia, a time don't come to an end. They be very desperate. They not be ready for negotiate. They not be ready for Shidong, like we be Shidong for Canada, for a negotiation led by the international community. The infighting for Cameroon, it make no central authority no day where if he take a leadership role for for come negotiate the end of this conflict and Cameroon he exit from Ambazonia. Wait, don't remain now for the next few months specifically. It could be a manipulation and information intoxication. All right? It could be a manipulation and information intoxication. A lot of Ambazonian activists where they don't get any stake in the liberation struggle, where they don't be the last 2 weeks, 2 religious authorities from 2 religious denominations sent by the Prime Minister, they come for North America and Europe with a lot of money for divide them for these people then, these activists. There is a lot where they go on so that everything where they will talk, it will be about against Ambazonia. Because La Republique don't collapse. They are going for divide the Ambazonian people then. Separate Ambazonian people then. Because La Republique don't collapse, Cameroon not get a way for come up with a leadership where if he accept this problem and come with meet up the Ambazonian people then for address them, now propaganda and manipulation be the only thing we remain for them. We be vigilant, be a vanguard, protect the aspirations of the Ambazonian people then, adopt a nationalist stance, not leave and make any person manipulate you or fool you. A lot of them don't be corrupted. All right? Cameroon, the time for your country don't come to an end. Now na you for take am. You no go fit take am until you understand the game of the enemy. You no go fit take am if you not invest for nationalist forces for protect that independence. Pay your liberation tax. Pay your liberation tax. Last week, the Vice President of Ambazonia Governing Council, he unveiled to all the Ambazonian people, say the liberation tax in 7 months, it just make 8 months, it don't generate a revenue of 100 million. And the last week for March, from March 23rd to end of March, the liberation tax, it generate a revenue of 5.8 million CFA in just 1 week. In total, 8 months, 100 million. The last week of March, 5.8 million. When I get hope, when you get there, small. I want to thank Brother John, Comrade John, for Vancouver, for my t-shirt we sent for me. Nine this, when I see I'm shake no day. Nine this. Reverend John for Vancouver, thank you very much. Thank you very much. My t-shirt we sent for me. Nine that shake no day. Ambazonia, they say shake no day. Nine that. See that children come out against today. I am final. Alright? T-shirt don't come. T-shirt shake no day. If you want your own, contact me. I will contact Brother John for Vancouver. He will make your own. I'll tell you how much it costs. We'll ship them for you. Alright? So I'm just telling me I take the time for educate my people then. We take the time, we comfort our people then. The more education we get them, the more we understand the game of the enemy, the more any person no need for fear. No man no need for fear. Alright? When I get a good night. If you get any question, please contact me. If you get any discussion, even if you disagree with what I don't talk for here, contact me, talk to Brother Ashu. I know agree with what you talk for here. It'll be okay for you for disagree. It'll be okay. Contact me, but be very civil and be very respectful. Alright? Be a person where you stand for Ambazonia, defend your freedom, defend your country. If you not get any intelligence on the enemy's activity, we'll not send them for we. They be desperate. We'll talk more tomorrow. When I get a good night, may God protect and keep all man safe.